Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Thursday, February 15th. If you are joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately ended up turning out. And then after that, we'll get over to the injuries in play. It's only going to be a 3-game main slate today. It is the last NBA DFS main slate before the All-Star break, so hopefully you guys enjoy your All-Star break. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of festivities, whether you want to watch the dunk contest, three-point contest, I don't even remember what they call it now, Rising Stars Challenge, I think it's called, for the rookie and sophomore game, everything else like that. Should be a lot of interesting things overall. I always enjoy the Celebrity All-Star game, so whatever you enjoy with the All-Star weekend, if you just enjoy the time off, then obviously enjoy that time off and spend it with some of your friends, some of your loved ones, and everything else like that. But after we get done talking through the injuries for tonight's 3-game slate, we'll get over to both DraftKings and FanDuel and talk about my core picks on both sites. So it's going to be one player at each position. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, at the point guard position, we went with Trey Mann, $5,000, looking for at least 25 out of him. Got to 45.5, so he was a really good hit on yesterday's slate. Then at shooting guard, we had Buddy Hield, $6,300, looking for 31.32 out of him. Got to 46.25, so he was a hit as well. And then at small forward, we had Duncan Robinson, $4,400, looking for at least 22 out of him. Got to 30.75, so he was a really good hit as well. And then at power forward, we had Grant Williams, $4,300, was looking for at least 22 out of him. Got to 36. I kind of expected, both these teams to kind of go small yesterday. It seems like that was the case. And Grant Williams has played really, really well since he's joined the Charlotte team. And then last but not least, at center, we had Marvin Bagley. He was $5,300. No Kyle Kuzma yesterday, so we did see a really good game for Marvin Bagley and Denny Advia yesterday, but Bagley got to 35, so he was a hit. If you went ahead and played some Isaiah Jackson, he was a pretty good hit as well, so you could play him and Bagley together if that's something you want to do, kind of pay up for some other options. Was a pretty high-scoring slate yesterday, so hopefully, with the 5 hits that you did have here, you got to some of those other really good scoring players, whether it was a Denny Advia, whether it was somebody else up there towards the top. Definitely a lot of ways that the lineups that generated a lot of profit could have been built on yesterday's slate overall. And then on the FanDuel side, at point guard, we ended up on Cole Anthony. Once all these guards were ruled out for the Magic, I thought it'd be a decent game for Cole Anthony. That did not end up being the case at $5,100. Only got to 19.9 points. Was a miss. Only played 25 minutes in this game. Was mainly score independent. The game was a little bit of a blowout too as well, so he might have lost like a minute or two towards the end of that game, but just kind of unfortunate there. If you stay with Reggie Jackson, who we had early on in the day, he was $5,400, I think, looking for 27 points out of him. I think he got to 33.5, so he would have been a really good hit. At shooting guard, we had Kelly Oubre, so $6,700, been playing really well as of late. Unfortunately, that was not the case for Miami Heat yesterday. 17.6 points, he was a miss. 4 for 11 shooting from the field, mainly scoring dependent, and did ultimately end up fouling out in this game as well, so just a kind of an unfortunate day for him overall. At small forward, we have Paul George with no Kawhi Leonard, $8,200, looking for at least 41 points out. Got to 44.5, so he did end up being a hit yesterday. Then at power forward, we had Nikola Jovic here, $3,900. I said there was always kind of that chance that he goes out and only plays like 14 minutes and doesn't really pay off. Unfortunately, that was the case yesterday, coming off the big performance the day before. We were looking for 20 out, only got to 9.1. He was a miss. Only played those 14 minutes. Kind of jinxed myself there. 1 for 2 shooting from the field and to get into some foul trouble. So just a little bit unfortunate day for him. Did not help that Haywood Highsmith and Jaime Jaquez actually played pretty well off the bench as well. So just kind of limited how many guys could be out there just in general. And Jovic kind of took the backseat to some of those other guys on yesterday's slate. And then last but not least, at that center position, Marvin Bagley, $6,200. Looking for 31 fantasy points out. Got to 34, so he did ultimately end up being a hit. It was a pretty unfortunate day on FanDuel yesterday. Hopefully you guys got to some like Denny Advia. Hopefully you got to some Isaiah Jackson if you didn't get to Marvin Bagley, or if you played Marvin Bagley at that power forward position. A lot of different ways we could have approached this slate. It was a pretty interesting scoring day, so hopefully you guys had a little bit better luck on the FanDuel side than I did. I think I had Advia there, so I still doubled up. Kind of saved the day overall there. Was kind of fortunate in that regard. DraftKings was a pretty solid day all around, though. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about those injuries in play for tonight's slate. So once again, it's only a 3-game main slate, and 3 of these teams are on the back-to-back. So we will have injury reports on them later this afternoon. For the Milwaukee Bucks, though, we got Giannis and Damian Lillard, both listed as probable for tonight. It's a knee injury for Giannis. It's an ankle injury for Damian Lillard. Both have been playing through it, so would expect them both to play tonight. And then Chris Middleton remains out at this point in time. The Memphis Grizzlies are on the back-to-back, so we'll see what their injury report looks like as the day moves along. Then we move over to the Golden State Warriors and the Utah Jazz. Both these teams are on back-to-back, so they are also two teams that we will be looking out for their injury report as the day moves along. Probably don't expect too much from Utah since they've been pretty healthy as of late. Golden State, we'll kind of see if anybody rests on the back-to-back, especially headed into the All-Star break. And then we move over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jalen Clark's out once again. He's been out all season. Wendell Moore listed as questionable with a knee injury. Not a major part of the rotation, but he's missed their last couple games. And then we got Anthony Edwards dealing with some knee soreness. Still listed as questionable play, but did ultimately end up playing in the last game as well. So would expect that he does play tonight. And then on the Portland Trailblazers side, we got Malcolm Brogdon, Moses Brown, Ryan Ruppert, and Shaedon Sharpe all out for tonight's game. And then Scoot Henderson listed as questionable to play. So not the greatest Portland team in the world. Maybe there's a little bit of value there. If Scoot Henderson ultimately ends up getting rolled out, we'll see who kind of picks up some of those extra guard minutes. I know a couple games ago we saw Ashton Higgins even get some minutes. So I believe that's when Anthony Simons was out though too as well. So just make a note of that. Delano Ban is pretty cheap on tonight's slate, and he's actually played some decent sized minutes for Portland since he came over from the Boston Celtics. So maybe he's a guy that we look at on a 3-game slate today. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's slate overall. Not a lot to talk about today, but obviously we do have those 3 teams on the back-to-back, so I will have those updated injury reports later on this afternoon for those teams, as well as any other injury updates that do come out throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So we're going to start off at the point guard position with Keontae George for the Utah Jazz. He was back in the starting lineup last night, so assume that he does ultimately end up starting once again tonight. Pace up spot versus the Golden State Warriors, only $4,700. Looking for 23, 24 fantasy points at him, averaging 22 so far on the season. If he's going out there, if he's playing big minutes like him once again tonight, currently I'm projected for about 27 fantasy points tonight. Definitely does have a little bit upside for more, but does have some downside for less at the same time as well. And then at shooting guard, we have Anthony Edwards here, $8,700. Pretty good price tag for him overall tonight. So 43, 44 fantasy points is what we're looking for out of him. Essentially what he's been averaging so far on the season. That knee injury, knee soreness might bug him a little bit. But going against Portland tonight, it's the same matchup they had a couple nights ago, and he did dominate that game. So I would expect pretty similar tonight. Portland's not doing much to stop him just in general. So do like him quite a bit. Currently I'm projected for about 46 fantasy points tonight. Might have a little bit of upside for more. Might have a little bit of downside for less at the same time as well, though. And then at small forward, I ended up on Lauri Markkanen. Kind of looking back at him, he hasn't done as great as of late. The last time they played Golden State wasn't the best game for him overall, but $8,100, looking for 40, 41 points out. He's averaging 41 on the season. Do like him as kind of an upside play today. Maybe doesn't draw quite as much ownership since he's been kind of trending downward as of late. But definitely a guy that could have some pretty strong upside just in general. Ultimately, if you don't want to play Lauri Markkanen, I get it. It's a little bit more difficult since, 4 out of his last 5 games have not been the greatest. But I do like the upside that could be there. Pace up spot versus the Golden State Warriors. Do currently am projected for about 42, 43 fantasy points tonight. Has some strong upside for more, but then he does also have some strong downside for less at the same time as well. At power forward, we're going to go with G.G. Jackson, $4,900, playing a pretty big role for this Memphis Grizzlies team off the bench as of late. He's been very, very efficient, so you're only looking for 24, 25 points out. He's only been averaging 19 on the season, but since he's been getting bigger minutes, he's pretty much outperformed this price tag every single time. So do like him quite a bit tonight. Currently I'm projected, for about 28 fantasy points. Could be a little bit of a pace-up spot for some Milwaukee Bucks. And then, if the Grizzlies start rolling some of these guys out tonight, he could take a bigger role for this team overall as well. Then last but not least at that center position, going with Walker Kessler here at $5,600. Mentioned him in the core picks yesterday, so his price tag is $600 more. But when he's been going out there, he's been getting the minutes. He's been outperforming this price tag still. Do like him a little bit tonight. It's a faster paced matchup versus the Golden State Warriors. Maybe it's one that he gets ran off the court. But, the Warriors are playing a little bit bigger this season than they have in the past. Obviously, that's changed a little bit as of late. But still like Walker Kessler, he did outperform this price tag last time he played Golden State as well. So I think he's a relatively safe play at that center position tonight overall. Currently, I'm projected for about 28, 29 fantasy points tonight. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players, you'll have $18,000 remaining, $6,000 exactly per player. So it's looking a little bit more like a balanced build type of day overall. But if you want to sneak some of these cheaper value plays in there, where it's a Delano Ban, somebody else that pops up throughout the day, you can definitely do that and get to a couple other more expensive players. Maybe it's Giannis that you're sticking in your forward spot and then paying it down at the 2 other spots today. Just in general, maybe you're paying down from Lauri Markkanen as well when you're paying up to Giannis. So a lot of different ways that we could approach tonight's slate overall. But with that being said, we can move over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So at the point guard position, once again, we're going with Keontae George, $5,400, looking for 27 out of him, averaging just under 21 so far in the season. Obviously, part of that has been coming off the bench, and he obviously returned to the starting lineup last night, so I do like that. If he's out there, if he's playing well, if he's getting the minutes, he's going to outperform this price tag. Currently, I'm projected for 27, 28 fantasy points tonight, and it is a pace-up spot versus the Golden State Warriors as well. Then at shooting guard, we have Anthony Edwards. Once again, on FanDuel, he's more expensive, though. He's $9,300. Looking for 46, 47 out of him, averaging 42 so far in the season. Obviously, got a little bit of knee soreness, but he did play really well against the Portland Trail Blazers in their most recent game. So I do like him to pay off at this price tag, right around that 46, 47 fantasy point mark. But he does have some pretty strong upside for more. Maybe a little bit downside for less, if that knee starts bugging him or if this game ultimately ends up in a blowout. But at the same time, last time he did play Portland in their most recent game, played really, really well in that game. So putting a little bit of emphasis in that, but I do like the upside that's there overall tonight. And then at small forward, we have Andrew Wiggins. He is $5,300. We're looking for 26, 27 points out of him. He's actually outperformed this price tag. I believe it's 4 out of his last 5 games. It's a little bit of a pace-up spot for the Utah Jazz tonight as well. If he's going out there, if he's playing like he's been doing as of late, looks just like a solid, steady, safe option for tonight's slate overall. So do currently like him for about 27 fantasy points. Could have some upside for more. Could have some downside for less at the same time as well. Then at power forward, we're going right back to GG Jackson, $6,100. More of a GPP option. I'm going to admit that. I don't have any way that truly stands out from the power forward position today. If you want to play Giannis, go right ahead. If you want to play Lauri Markkanen, go right ahead. But I have GG Jackson here. Like the matchup tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. Some of these Memphis guys start getting rolled out. Could be pretty favorable for him. Right now, I only have him projected for about 28, 29 fantasy points. A little bit underwhelming for $6,100, but the upside is definitely there. Not sure the ownership's going to be there on FanDuel. It should definitely be there on DraftKings with the lower price tag, but that's a story for a different day. So do like him quite a bit, and the upside that he could potentially present on tonight's slate overall. Obviously, a pick that could change throughout the day as well, though. And then last but not least, at the center position, we are going to go with Mr. Rudy Gobert. He is $8,000. He has played extremely well versus Portland in the past, so do like it tonight. It's a matchup against DeAndre Ayton. Should be a favorable one for him. If he's going out there, if he's getting the minutes, he's going to look pretty good overall. Looking for 40 points out. Currently, I'm projected for about 41, 42 tonight. Has a little bit of upside for more. Has some downside for less at the same time as well. Just looks like a pretty solid, steady, safe option at this point in time. If you want to mix it up, go with someone else. Maybe you look at Brook Lopez at $6,600. Hopefully the minutes are there, but he did recently come back from that personal absence. And then the Bucks haven't been playing the best since then. So we'll kind of see how that all shakes out at the center position. A lot of different ways that you could approach it tonight just in general. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I currently have listed here, you have $25,900 remaining. Just under $6,500 per player. So once again, looks a little bit more like a balanced build. Obviously, you could find some cheaper players to mix and match there and then kind of pay up at some other spots if that's something you really want to do. Or if you really want to take that balanced approach, that's definitely something you can do as well. We'll see what other values do end up popping up as the day moves along, though. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, February 15th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that you please know whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, I'll be posting all the injury updates down in the comments below, as well as all the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And then, as always, I will have my updated core posted down in the comments as well as a pinned comment. About 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock. Might end up being about a half hour prior to lock, just kind of depending on how the news shakes out And then if there's any other additional changes to that core after that point in time, I will leave them as a reply to that pinned comment. Not really expecting that tonight since there is only the 3 games. The 2 games are close together, and then the one that is a little bit later on just in general. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we just got NBA DFS going on in terms of the core picks Monday through Friday. Obviously, there will be no video tomorrow because we're headed into the NBA All-Star break. So our next video, I believe, will be next Thursday, so about a week from today. So enjoy your week off from NBA DFS. If you really want to play the All-Star Game DFS, you can do that. Not something I particularly recommend, but if there's a free contest out there for it, always worth a shot at the same time. I believe it was 2 years ago I did score pretty highly in the free contest. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you are a brand new user to any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities out there to be had. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day, a good NBA All-Star break just in general, and we'll see you next week. And hopefully you guys all have some good luck in NBA DFS tonight.